Hello and welcome to the Kumas guide. First, we're going to start off by searching Kumas guide into your browser to give a more visual representation. Make sure to click the one by Tear Today. Things you should know. This is the west dock, this is the east dock, this is the bridge, tower, midhouse, east house. Your goal is to open up boxes located at various places around the map and have someone carry them to one of these docks. What crystals should you be using? For a priest, you should be using Succoring and Hardies, 1 foot, and the rest mana regions. Charms you should be using are Swift, Power, and Enduring. You should be using a Swift charm because it helps you keep moving really quickly so that the Kumas can't catch up to you. It makes you get past a breaking point of actually the Kumas catching up to you and you getting out of combat. So it's pretty important and it's definitely worth it for the carriers. What a carrier you should be using is the same for you should be using 3 Hardies, 1 Fleetfoot, and then 4 Grounding Versks, 1 Swift Red Crux as well. For DPS, the crystals you should be using will be loaded quickly on this Reaper. These are the patterns that can be opened. This one's called Bridge, Tower, Triangle, Houses, and Rare. For DPS, you're using Carving Zerks, Hardies, and then Carving, or Swift, if you want to play safer, Savage, Bitter, and Forceful. So what do you do when you encounter each map? What strategies should you be using? Well, let's start from left to right. So for Bridge, what you should be doing is you should be taking this candy, getting it up over here. If you jump all the way over here, there will be a decently safe spot that the Kumas can only reach by walking all the way around. So that means if they do go all the way around, you have a quick access to this dock. While you have one person standing there with a candy held, you can take this candy and run east since one Kumas has to stay here, otherwise this candy runner will be able to easily get to the west dock. You should be able to get this one all the way to there. Then after that you should run this one to the east dock as well. Even if you failed getting the first candy, you should still just run this one east as well. Things to be noticed is on the top level, here's a decently safe spot. On the bottom level, there's a hole to get through this where the Kumas can't reach, so they have to walk all the way around. And there's also one over here that you can go through to there, making the Kumas run all the way around there. Other safe spots to be noticed are here. If you get to over here, if you're a carrier, then you turn on walk, and then you can jump up a wall that a Kumas can't reach you. Over here is a hole where the Kumas can only hit you with ranged skills. Those are pretty important for stalling if you get low on HP when your healers can't heal you properly. After you've run both of these candies, you should have gotten at least one of them successfully. Then you should be able to run this one to the west successfully, more than likely. For this candy, what you want to do is you want to take this tower, run it onto the bridge over here on the top level, and then run this candy to the east. And then after that, you want to run this candy and run this to the east, and then run this to the west. If you fall while running this tower on the bridge, trying to get there, you should just run it west as soon as possible. And then possibly have someone go east to pick up that candy and run it there, though you don't have to. For Triangle, what you should do is usually open up 2 of the boxes, making sure to open up this box, then one of these 2 boxes. You want to take this box, while one box is usually closed, and take this all the way to the west, and immediately run it as soon as possible. And then run your east candy at this candy at the same time, or after you've successfully run this candy, which will most likely happen. And then after you've run this, then you run that candy, then this candy, you can run either way. For houses, what you want to do is run this one all over the bridge to this spot, then take this and run it all the way around to the circle and stay up on this block that's right there. Once you're on that block, you can either decide which one's safer to see where the Kumas are located. If there's more Kumas on the east, you run the west. If there's more on the west, you run the east candy. And then you run this candy either to the west or the east based on which candy you didn't run. And then run the candy that you didn't run last. For the rare pattern, what you want to do is run the tower onto the bridge over here. Then stay there. Then have someone run either this house or this one all the way to the east. Who's the best carrier? So the three best classes in terms of defense is defensive stance warrior with the glyph for endurance, Nexus Lancer, and then Zerker. But if you have a Lancer in your party, it's best to have a warrior carry it, since they have the highest defense and they have a pretty quick movement speed. Then I'd prefer Zerkers next because Lancer can give them Rallying Cry, which speeds up their carrying time so tremendously, while providing utility to their party. And then Lancer being the third best carrier if you don't have any of the other two that can carry. As a leader, you should try and figure out which pattern it is and then mark it for your team. The way to easily tell which pattern it is if you go, once you get and you check if there's a box here or a box here. If there's a box here, that means it's going to be either bridge or tower. The way to differentiate it is if you see there's a box there, that means it's going to be bridge. If there's a box here, that means it's tower. If there is no box on the bridge, you want to see if there's a box here. If there is a box here, then you want to see if there is a box here. If there's a box here, then that means it's triangle. If there is no box there, that means that it is houses. If there is no box here in this house or on the bridge, that means it's a rare pattern. Skills to be using, making sure you use. As a warrior, you can just, if you're not carrying, you should just hold block in front of the Kumas and your carrier so they take less damage, and that the Kumas are blocked from reaching your carrier. And then you should also be trying to stun the Kumas as much as possible, though you have a low chance of doing such. For Lancer, what you should just be giving your rallying cry as much as you can to your healer and carrier, and then pledging for your healer so they don't die to the Kumas. Priests, make sure to keep Kais up so the carrier doesn't get KD'd, or rise them if they get KD'd. Try to keep E-stars up as it provides much utility and good damage. Sleep Kumas off cooldown, and try and keep everyone up. Mystic, try and use all your CCs on the Kumas so that they can't interrupt your carrier as much as possible while keeping your team up. Your turns or summons will do a decent amount of damage, so be sure to summon them to attack when you're not using your healing fairy. Then the rest of the classes just try and use as many KDs, stuns, and staggers as you can to stop the Kumas from doing what they can. Reaper is definitely the best class for interrupting a Kumas. They have the best, their Shadow Lash is very strong in terms of staggering. It's definitely their priority skill when trying to interrupt a Kumas that's attacking a carrier. It had hit it so many times, and each chance having such a great chance of stagger. Next being Whipsaw, hitting so many times, healing yourself, and staggering so often. Then almost every skill you use will interrupt a Kumas. And while they are very safe with how many iframes, they are definitely the best class that isn't for carrying or healing in Kumas. What you want to know as a player is what skills does the Kumas have, and how to play the Kumas. So first we'll go over what skills the Kumas have. On 1, the Mama Kumas has a stun. It goes in many directions. Each stun ball's AoE is about 3 to 5 meters, So, and it has a pretty large range, so usually, unless you time it correctly with your frame, you will probably get stunned by it, unless you have GS up. So it is a pretty tormenting and deadly skill, since it can reach up to 60 meters. If you're a Kumas, you want to put it on use your crosshair to target your person that you're trying to hit, and then move your mouse up, so that your camera is above them, so it will travel farther and more likely to hit them. 2 is your fire breath. On the Mama Kumas, you sprint fire in front of you, and then you jump up and hit people that are around you. It's very strong. It does much amount of damage. 3 is the jump on the Mama Kumas, moving you distance pretty fast. It's not as fast as walking but if you have a carrier or a candy on you, then you should be using it for a movement skill, since it is faster than walking while carrying a Kumas candy. Your 4 is when you punch it in front of you and behind you, and then both of your sides afterwards, and then spin around you. It does a very large amount of damage and can one-shot some of the squishier classes like Reapers and Healers. Make sure that your target is KD'd, usually without retail. Otherwise, it's very easy to dodge just by walking out of the skill. Your 5 is a cleanse, I believe, though I'm not sure. But I don't remember it being. 5 is a jump back. It's good for when you're carrying crystal and you want to make sure that you don't give the people chasing you back damage, and if people are directly under you, they'll still get KD'd and take damage. On the baby Kumas, the stun is only going in front of you in one direction, one ball. On 2, the fire breath doesn't move you backwards, doesn't make you jump up and hit everyone around you after you do the fire breath. Their jump is the same as the Mama Kumas. And their 4 is a roll forward. It's kind of like the jump, just it hits people behind as he's moving. It also hits people that are around him when he starts the animation, so it's good for juking at people. It's a very easy way to get through someone's warrior or lancer's block, so be sure to use that to your advantage. And then their 5 is a cleanse. You make sure if someone gets stunned or slept, that you use it on your Kumas. Also on the Mama Kumas, the left click is the auto attack and the right click is the heal. Make sure to use the heal on the crystals boxes that have the crystals in them, so that it takes longer to kill them. Also, when you have a Kumas that's gotten the crystal, make sure to heal them so that they don't die with the crystal, allowing the enemy to pick it up. On the baby Kumas, the left and right is a slap to your left and a slap to your right. It's very easy to get around the character's block with that. If you walk a small distance and then use the directional ability of how your skill is aimed. So as a Kumas, what you basically usually want to do is have one person on every crystal. The Mama Kumas usually goes on the easiest crystal to access on each map. That's usually this one, Mama Kumas, this one, Mama Kumas, this one, Mama Kumas. Then the Mama Kumas is either on this one or this one. Here, usually want to put the Mama Kumas on over here-ish. When you're trying to, once they are carrying the candy, the Mama Kumas usually should go on the healer since they have the strongest offensive ability and a large amount of AoE that will affect the DPS that are trying to stop him. Even if they're not hitting the DPS, they will still stop the DPS from hit that are trying to interrupt you and the carrier trying to get the candy through. Since the baby Kumas put out less pressure, they are better on the carrier since the carrier can't actually use any skills. So he can't fight back, making it very easy to kill him. It's best to have the carrier, the baby Kumas, kill the carrier so that they get the candy, since you can heal the baby Kumas if you're in the Mama Kumas, and since they have less offensive ability, making them less important to keeping all the crystals in your favor. If you have any other questions, please be sure to ask. Leave a comment. Thanks.